Ryan Seacrest reveals true feelings about his legacy. Ryan Seacrest has spent most of his life under bright studio lights, his voice woven into the soundtrack of American pop culture. From early morning radio shifts to primetime television and glittering live finales watched by millions, Seacrest's career reads like a blueprint for modern media success. Yet, for a man so often associated with countdown clocks, winner announcements, and smooth transitions, the question he's quietly been sitting with is far more personal. What will people remember when the music fades and the cameras turn off? For decades, Ryan Seacrest has been everywhere and somehow made it look effortless. But behind the polished delivery and trademark calm is a man increasingly reflective about his legacy, his sacrifices, and the meaning of a life lived in constant motion. A career built on consistency. Ryan Seacrest didn't become a household name overnight. His journey began with an almost obsessive love for broadcasting, nurtured long before fame entered the picture. While others his age were still figuring out their passions, Seacrest was already studying radio equipment, practicing delivery, and chasing opportunities wherever he could find them. That dedication paid off. What set Seacrest apart early wasn't just his voice or appearance, it was his reliability. Producers knew he'd be prepared. Networks trusted him with live television. Audiences felt comfortable inviting him into their homes year after year. Consistency isn't glamorous, Seacrest once admitted, but it's everything. That mindset shaped a career defined not by scandal or spectacle, but by endurance, becoming the face of a generation. When American Idol exploded into a cultural phenomenon, Ryan Seacrest became more than a host. He became a guide. Week after week, he stood at the center of dreams being realized and hearts being broken, delivering results with compassion and composure. For viewers, Seacrest wasn't just announcing winners. He was part of their routines, their family nights, their shared conversations at school and work the next morning. Over time, his presence became familiar, almost comforting. But with that visibility came pressure. Live television leaves no room for error, and Seacrest learned early that perfection wasn't optional, it was expected. There's a responsibility that comes with being trusted by millions, he reflected. I always felt that if people were giving me their time, I owed them my best. The cost of always being on success often comes with trade-offs, and Seacrest is candid about the personal sacrifices he made along the way. While his career soared, his life became carefully scheduled, measured in minutes rather than moments. Holidays blurred into workdays. Personal relationships had to coexist with relentless travel and early call times. Burnout, though rarely visible, was never far away. There were times I didn't stop long enough to ask myself how I was actually doing, he shared. You keep moving because stopping feels risky. Yet those quiet moments, the rare pauses, are what eventually prompted him to reflect more deeply on what his legacy truly means. Redefining legacy beyond ratings. For years, Seacrest measured success the way the industry taught him to: ratings, renewals, longevity. But as time passed, the definition began to shift. Legacy, he realized, isn't just about being remembered, it's about how you're remembered. I don't want my legacy to just be a resume, Seacrest said thoughtfully. I want it to be about how people felt working with me, watching me, trusting me. Behind the scenes, he's known for professionalism and kindness, traits he now values more than accolades. To Seacrest, legacy lives in small interactions, encouraging a nervous contestant, mentoring a young producer, showing up prepared when it matters most. Mentorship and quiet influence. One of the least visible but most meaningful parts of Ryan Seacrest's career is his role as a mentor. Over the years, countless broadcasters, hosts, and producers have passed through shows he's anchored or companies he's built. He rarely takes credit, but many cite him as a guiding presence, someone who set a standard without ego. I've learned that influence doesn't have to be loud, Seacrest explained. Sometimes it's just about showing what professionalism looks like day after day. That quiet influence may ultimately define his legacy more than any single show. Learning to let go. As the media landscape evolves, so does Seacrest. He's aware that no role lasts forever, and rather than fearing that reality, he's begun to embrace it. There's power in knowing when to step back, he said. It doesn't mean you're done. It just means you're making room for what's next. That perspective reflects maturity, a willingness to let legacy unfold naturally rather than trying to control it. A more personal measure of success. Today, Ryan Seacrest speaks more openly about balance, health, and fulfillment. He values time differently. Rest matters. Presence matters. What I'm proudest of isn't just the shows, he reflected. It's that I stayed true to who I was while navigating a very demanding industry. For someone who built a career on being composed under pressure, vulnerability didn't come easily. But acknowledging imperfections has become part of his growth. How he hopes to be remembered. When asked how he hopes people will talk about him years from now, Seacrest's answer is simple. I hope they say I worked hard, treated people well, and respected the audience. No mention of fame, no list of awards, just humanity. In an industry often defined by ego and excess, that sentiment feels refreshing and revealing. The legacy's still being written. Ryan Seacrest's story isn't finished. His legacy isn't a completed chapter, but an ongoing narrative shaped by intention, reflection, and evolution. He remains a familiar presence, but now with a deeper awareness of what truly lasts. The shows may change, the formats may evolve, but the values he's carried, professionalism, kindness, consistency, continue to ripple outward. And perhaps that's the most honest legacy of all, not a spotlight frozen in time, but a steady light that helped others find their way. As Ryan Seacrest looks back on everything he's built, one truth stands out. Legacy isn't about how long you stay in the frame. It's about the impact you leave once you step out of it. As Ryan Seacrest looks back on everything he's built, one truth stands out. Legacy isn't about how long you stay in the frame. It's about the impact you leave once you step out of it. And stepping out even momentarily is something Seacrest has finally learned how to do. Slowing down without stepping away. For most of his life, slowing down felt unnatural to him, almost dangerous. Momentum was his safety net. As long as he kept moving, producing, hosting, building, he didn't have to confront the quieter questions. But with time has come a shift, not a retreat from ambition, but a refinement of it. I still love the work, Seacrest has said. I just don't need it to define every part of me anymore. That distinction marks a powerful evolution. He no longer measures his worth solely by airtime or applause. Instead, he's learned to find meaning in intentional choices, selecting projects that excite him, saying no when necessary, and protecting space for reflection. It's not a dramatic exit, it's a thoughtful recalibration. The human behind the host. For years, audiences saw Ryan Seacrest as unshakable, calm during live finals, composed through technical glitches, always ready with the next cue. But behind that steadiness was a human being carrying the weight of constant expectations. There's a version of me the audience knows, he once shared quietly, and then there's the version that goes home at night. That version values solitude, routine, and simplicity. Long walks, familiar voices, moments that don't require performance. These are the spaces where Seacrest now reconnects with himself and where he believes his truest legacy is being shaped. Gratitude for the journey rather than distancing himself from his past, Seacrest embraces it with gratitude. Every early morning call time, every high-stakes broadcast, every risk that paid off, they all taught him something. He speaks often about appreciation for the teams that supported him, the viewers who stayed loyal, and the mentors who trusted him when he was still proving himself. None of this happens alone, he emphasized. Legacy is collective. That awareness grounds him. It keeps success from becoming isolating. Passing the torch without losing the flame, Ryan Seacrest doesn't see the rise of new voices as competition. He sees it as confirmation that the industry is alive and evolving. Rather than clinging to relevance, he chooses relevance through generosity, offering guidance when asked, stepping aside when appropriate, and celebrating others' wins. There's room for everyone, he believes. You don't have to hold onto the microphone forever. That philosophy speaks volumes about the confidence he's built. Confidence rooted not in fear of being replaced, but in pride in what he's already contributed.